Ooh, the countdown is coming, folks. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, is this gonna work? Let's find out if it's actually gonna work. Everybody, welcome to the Roundtable. This is Chris, and hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody's having had a great weekend, a great Friday, great everything involved with your weekend, with life, and all other good stuff. Just let me know if you can hear me okay. Like, share some more. Thank you very much, Jesus. Mr. Gonzalez, definitely. We definitely want to encourage that. Just make sure you can hear me okay. Can everybody hear me okay in the chat? Does everybody hear me okay? Hear my voice before I go much further here? I know there's a little bit of a delay in broadcast, and with some of the history of, shall I say, challenges we've had with doing this show, before we start running off down the races, talking, I want to make sure that people can hear us okay. Can you hear me? Audio is fine. Oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Okay, now here's the ultimate audio test, okay? Now check this out. Let's see if you guys can really hear things the way that you need to. All right, I got a special audio video test. It's gonna be very advanced, very detailed. I think you're going to appreciate this. And the message I want to give you all with this opening video. Hey, Sidewalk, glad you found us. Very good. The message I want to send with this opening video is to never give up, okay? Maybe you're going to be the girl, maybe you're going to be the goat. That's kind of life sometimes. Challenges you meet, friend. No comments. Hey, Mama Bear, thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you can see everything okay. Hopefully you can see some of our new goodies. We can put your comments up here too. It's pretty good. Hey, Sidewalk as well. Good to see you. Okay, so let me try clicking on this button and see if it does things or if it blows up my computer. And and get rid of this. And now you see this lovely young lady. And let's see if you can hear her as well in a second. And let me know how the sound is in the video as well. Remember, folks, never give up. Sometimes in life you're the girl, and sometimes you're the goat. Let's look at the slow motion replay here. Goat's making its appeal. Oh, there's a rope pulling him back, yanking it back. But he's like, you know what? I just need to really put my back into this. Let me get a good running start. But she's still participant in her goat. Here comes the goat. And oh, ammo. Oh, she's down for the count. But you know what? To the girl's credit, she did not drop her cell phone. She held on to that like a champ. So good for her. hanging in there perfectly. Did everybody hear the video okay? Oh boy, let me get rid of this one. Everybody hear that video okay? Everybody hear the squeals, the screams before? So what happened before the audio wasn't working with Sidewalk? So in the software I'm using to broadcast, yeah, you could hear it. Very good. What was happening before is the software I'm using, I scheduled the broadcast days ago to avoid, any technical difficulties. We had that kind of impromptu show on my channel on Friday night. You're welcome to go and check out our fireside chat, so to speak, kind of a casual chat with Fred and I. No major news in it, just kind of talking about life and some other stuff. You're welcome to check that out later after the show. And yes, that was kind of a test for tonight. And so I scheduled this. We made a decision it would be on my channel this week because Fred's still unfortunately having some computer problems. And that's one of the reasons why he needs to, I don't know where he is right now, but anyways, he'll be coming in, she'll be coming back shortly. But anyways, so he did his thing and we tested perfectly on Friday night. So then when we joined tonight earlier at 8:30 Eastern, or just after, it was using that same scheduled link that we'd set up previously. But for some reason, even though my software is showing that we were live doing the broadcast, even though it showed we were live doing the broadcast, don't worry, Sidewalk, you may be in piss, but you can still go back and check it out. No problem. I think we're going to do that again, that kind of show again. It was a lot of fun. But anyways, even though it showed us live, we were talking away, and Fred was talking about his cat, and that we fell and almost twisted his ankle today, and his computer problems, and the usual Y&R saga there. And for whatever reason, for whatever reason, he... when we looked in the chat, we were like, why is nobody here? Why is nobody chatting with us? And then I was sending the message to the chat, and Sidewalk's like, yeah, it looks great. And I'm like, okay, but can you hear us? He's like, no. He's like, can you hear me? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay. Fred, can you hear Fred? He's like, no. I go to the YouTube link that you guys can see, not the one I can see, but you guys can see, and it still shows that the show hasn't started, and you're waiting for the show to start. And I'm like, are you serious, YouTube? Oh, jeez. So anyways, I had to stop that broadcast, deleted that version, set up this one with basically the same title, and just started it again. So I'm glad that, you can hear us at least. You can see the movies. You can see our little video, animated Canadian Roundtable, quick and dirty PowerPoint presentation with a variety of fonts. And so I know the number one question I usually get on these things is, hey, where's AJ? Where's Fred? So Fred is joining any minute. I don't know where Fred is right now. Where are you, Fred? Okay. And what else? And he's changed the link. Okay, hang on a second, folks. Hang tight a second. Let me just join the new link that I was given so that Fred and AJ can join in the party. You stay right there. We're live, folks. We're live. This is live. This is real life. This is what we're doing here. Okay. Let me end this meeting. Boop, boop, boop. And you guys have nothing to change on your end on YouTube. You have nothing to change. Nothing to change at all. You stay right there. I don't know why they didn't just come back to the same link that we had set up days ago. But hey, let's just do it this way. No frustration in my voice. Everything's A-okay. Everyone is happy. All right. Okay. No nervous laughter whatsoever. Here we go. Story starting. One more thing. Yes, Jesus, absolutely. I always recommend that you like, share, thumbs, subscribe. Thank you very much. While it's just me here, thanks for those of you who have subscribed lately. I kind of have this running joke that I don't make videos, and I don't, for the most part. But I have over 100 subscribers. I think last check I had 105, and I have no idea how that happens. So thank you very much. I kind of appreciate that. That's really sweet. Hey Faye, how you doing? Yep. So while I am setting this thing up here so that Fred and AJ can join, again, I don't know why they started a new link because there was already one that I sent them earlier. Anyways, another host of the meeting. Fred, jeez. Anyways, so I actually spent some time this weekend moving my office around in my house. My office is in the basement. Slavey, absolutely, we agree with you. Taxation is theft. No doubt about that. Is that like hi and hello to you? Because I think every time I see you enter the chat, that's like the first thing you say. Taxation is theft. So yeah, that's your hi and hello. But anyways. So yeah, I was moving my office around in my house. So it was normally in my basement. And I moved it, slugged my stuff up to my top floor of my house beside our master bedroom, which is where I wanted it in the first place when we moved into this house. But my wife and I came to an agreement finally. So the problem it was me doing the work and not like the movers who moved us in 2 years ago. But anyways, so my computer's in a new location. It's a much nicer room than my old one, much bigger than the old one. Folks, give me just 2 seconds here. Let me just set up something new so for Fred and AJ to join. And they will join us shortly. 1 second. Copy my invitation. two of my friends here. All right. Anyways, so yeah. 1 second. Sent you a new link. Don't know why you changed it. We're live. Duh. Anyways, Faye, looking at this comment here, you have no idea. I don't know why I test. Anyways, who's joining? Who's knocked on my door? Who is this? Hello? Unmute your thing, whoever just joined. Hello? Hello? Okay. Nobody. All right. You're on mute probably. I don't know. Or maybe I'm on mute. Hello? Fred? Fred? Oh, Fred. What are we going to do with you? Anyways. So that's been made a busy weekend. Lots of family time. No, Fred, I can't hear you. Anyways. So, bottom line is, been a busy weekend, moving stuff around the last few days, but I'm glad to be in this new room. But I'm trying to treat it like this thing, as I stall a little bit longer, I'm trying to treat it like this thing where I'm not going to bring all the old stuff. You know, in life, we kind of carry our baggage from place to place. And as I was moving things from the old office to the new one, I was looking at some boxes and files and things I brought with me from place to place thinking, I don't need this. What am I doing here? So anyways, we'll figure it out. So yeah. Fred pranked me from Boomerland. Yeah, sure. Anyways. Fred. No. Anyways. Fred. Okay, well, Fred, yes, you put your hand up. So let's see what we have to talk about here. And maybe I can get started one of our articles for you. And here's one I want to share with you. And if you were on the Friday night stream that we did, the impromptu stream, you can check that out on my channel. Nice little chat with Fred and I see some familiar faces here in the chat. Some people may have seen this video before that the Rebel posted about Roxham Road and some of the entitlement that some of these folks, these quote-unquote refugees / economic migrants / any number of things, are doing when they say that they come here as refugees to Roxham Road, to these irregular border crossings as they've been branded. So let me just share my Chrome window here. I think you may be able to see that. Yes, you can. Let me just adjust this a little bit. 1 second here. Make one little change. And let me hide this here. Get rid of that. Slavy's avatar. Let me check this one out.
Some of them spend their money.
Okay.
On the other side.
Make sure you can hear the video.
They know,
can everybody hear the video?
They're going to end up with a check in their hands, you know.
Kean Bexley here at the intersection of Roxham Road and the international border separate.
So I know when we were showing this on Friday night, and again, sorry for the repeat, but my channel, so I'll live through it. Maybe hear it better this time. This guy Keenan Bex, I know some people in the chat on Friday didn't really like this guy. I don't know. Maybe you can put a reason why some of you guys don't like this guy. I don't watch Rebel Media enough to really know or care about what he's doing, so I don't know. But anyways, so let's see.
In Canada and the United States. Now, right behind me is the area where people, non-Americans, non-Canadians, cross this border illegally, of course, in hopes that Canada will grant them refugee status, something that the Americans wouldn't do for whatever reason. Now, this story broke several years ago. It was a big problem for Trudeau after he tweeted, "Everybody is welcome in Canada," kind of to spite Donald Trump. And of course, that has led to a very, very big problem, and a problem that is growing. In 2018, there were more.
Can everybody hear the video okay? Just want to make sure. Just give me a yes in the chat if you can hear it okay. And Jesus is saying his non-personality. Yeah, he is pretty dry here. Pretty dry, but anyways, we'll see. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Quote-unquote refugees. People who wanted to seek refugee status.
And actually, just look at this number. We've talked about this before in the chat. Just Trudeau talks about this is Canada punching above its weight, so to speak. I don't know, but here you go. You hear this here about Canada taking in 28,100 of the 92,400 refugees who resettled in 25 countries last year. Let's look at that. That's crazy. Like, am I crazy or is that crazy? I'm okay with us doing more. Look, quiet, clear. I can change that, Slavey. Thanks for the feedback.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
I'm good.
And now I hear an echo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me a sec.
Are you using voice meter now?
Yeah, I can turn it off.
Okay. I'll turn up the audio on the video, and we'll keep playing. So let me know when voice meter is off, and maybe do a test talk, Fred. And I'm just playing a video. You can probably let me just make sure you can see my screen in Zoom. I think you can see my screen in Zoom. Can you see my screen? Am I sharing with you?
Yes,
Fred?
I see the screen. Do you
Awesome,
hear
cool.
echo anymore?
No more echo. Perfect. And folks in the chat, say one more thing, Fred. I just want to check my levels to make sure I can hear you okay, or that the chat can hear you okay.
Everyone, it's Fred. How are you today?
Yeah. You should be coming through right now. So one comment in the chat here from Sidewalk. I don't understand what they mean by resettled in 25 other countries. Were they repatriated? And I mean, maybe you can dig in a little bit more as to what you mean. I think we're talking about some pretty fine distinctions between resettled and repatriated, keeping in mind, as you say, resettled in quotes. What does that mean, right? Is that them, using a proper term? Is that them kind of trying to be politically correct here in terms of, what the terminology they're using for the resettlement, quote unquote? 28,100 people, 92,000 refugees. Fred, I don't know. Maybe you can turn up your volume a little bit on your end. Actually, no, you don't turn it up on your end. I'll turn it up on mine, and we'll see if they can still hear it. Okay. So let me keep playing here, and we'll go and see.
Legally crossing this border than ever before. It is a huge, unmitigated disaster. You can see here the footage that I just took in the first 30 minutes of me showing up here. The RCMP helping these two illegals put their bags into a van for them to be transported deeper into Canada. It seems that they have asked me more questions personally than they've been asking these quote-unquote refugees. Now, there's actually an individual here from Nova Scotia who just walked down the road and wanted to check things out because he said he saw it in the news a while ago. He was in the area. So here's what he had to say. What do you make?
So before this guy jumps in, who looks like Mr. GQ model here. This is something they mentioned earlier that, and granted, it's a completely anecdotal, but they seem to have more scrutiny of this quote unquote reporter from the Rebel than the actual people coming in, and I think that's kind of a frustration that I think a lot of Canadians feel that even if folks are coming in, fine, but like things seem to be a little bit easier. Whether it's the advertising, and Fred, you and I have seen this at our banks, or even if we're not a member of these banks, we see these accounts. Come into the country, you get AJ, how are you doing? Okay, let me I'll send you the link again as well, so you can maybe check that out as well. You can try again. I know Fred is having some trouble logging in too. But we have Fred voice meter. I hear the echo again. Thanks. But it seems to be more scrutiny for Canadians trying to get certain services and things than it is for some of these folks coming in. It seems like, open up the welcome mat, fine, if you're going to do that, but like take care of the folks who are here as well. So anyways, and Slavey made the comment, yes, Faith and Freebird Media were the first to go there, and we talked a little bit about this on Friday night as well. Just how Faith has been definitely, she certainly made her share of mistakes and hasn't done herself a lot of favors. But she certainly paid a price for. She's basically persona non grata in the media and other folks at this point. But anyways, let's listen to what this guy has to say.
It was a while ago. He was in the area. So here's what he had to say. What do you make of this situation that we see on the border right now?
I guess it's like a not an official crossing point,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think I don't know. It's just that I heard the people are trying to cross because they think that is it maybe they think they're not going to have status in the U.S., so they want to try their chances in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you think that Justin Trudeau has been strong enough in telling people like this that people in these situations that they're not welcome here and that what they're doing actually is illegal?
I think after that initial tweet, I think he's been rather silent on it.
The one where he said everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed with that? Are you happy?
Just one thing. First, welcome, AJ. How are you?
Not bad. How's it going?
Good. You sound great. Glad that you can hear it. Can you see the screen I'm sharing in Zoom as well? Just checking. Make sure you can hear it and see everything okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. Good.
Works.
Awesome. Good. So yeah, one comment I want to make here about what this guy had to say there just now about actually let me replay that just for a second so people can hear. I thought that was kind of a key point.
I think after that initial tweet, I think he's been rather silent on it.
That damn tweet keeps coming up with these newcomers. AJ, just to bring you up to speed, this is the video from the Rebel this week about refugees flying and taxiing to the Canadian border, expecting free money from everybody's least favorite Rebel reporter. But anyways, we're just kind of going through it. Well, I stall for time, so anyways,
Nice.
so we'll finish going through it here a little bit, and you can feel free to chime in whenever you pipe up. I'll just stop the video and you can add your commentary. Same with you, Fred.
Cool. Is Fred his stuff working? Was he having?
Yeah,
a
I
difficult-
think he's working now. Fred, are you back?
Yeah, no, I'm working.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
I
you
still
sound
don't
great,
have
buddy.
a desktop. I'm off my laptop.
Well, you sound good. You still sound very good. So don't touch anything. And folks in the chat, maybe you can comment on our voices as well to make sure that you can hear us okay. See if I can tweak anything else on my end.
Thanks,
Where he
Chris.
said everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed with that? Are you happy?
I think financially, I don't think it's good for Canada to take in people that aren't financially sustainable. But I don't know enough. I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was surprised to hear that these illegals are not really poor. They actually take a plane to get to a local airport near the border and then take a taxi here. They spend all their...
So hang on. Refugees, right? What are they running from? Like, are they running from the U.S.? This is like that whole safe third country thing. I think that's what it's going to turn into if Canada ever accepted that kind of change, like what the U.S. is trying to do with Trump, where he's saying, no, a safe third country, the U.S. is not the first safe country that people are going through from the south. Mexico and other countries do qualify. So the first safe country that they need to go to is, say, Mexico. And that's where you claim asylum. You don't have to go all the way to the U.S. So the same thing here. Like if people are in the U.S. and they've claimed asylum, then Canada shouldn't just accept them. Like that, even from that perspective, they're in a safe country. Maybe they've overstayed their welcome in that safe country. Maybe they were illegal immigrants to that safe country to begin with, and as such, they're criminals or fugitives. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Canada takes them in right away. And if they do take them in, watch them like a hawk. But anyways, Fred and AJ, what do you have to say about that?
Well,
that
yeah,
comment?
it's if people just knew basic facts and laws and what people are supposed to do when they're refugees, they can't country shop. They can't, I like the benefits in Sweden, so I'm going to bypass all these countries and go there. But people are stupid. And that's what they count on. They count on ignorant people just being like, well, they're just coming for a better life, and they're just escaping war and the war that you caused in their country, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. And like you said, they're taking planes oftentimes.
And
I
taxis.
see people crossing the border, and they got like nice suitcases and jackets and stuff, and the people are like, "Oh, you're coming across illegally, just so you know." And they're like, "Yeah, I know. I don't give a shit." So yeah, we're all just we're being scammed, and it's our own ignorance and stupidity that and cowardice, right? You know, see that one guy, he knew he was like, I don't think it's really sustainable, but you know, I don't really know anything though. Don't call me a racist, a bigot, but you know, it's like that's the thing. You know, if people are afraid to question it as well because of liberals and the left demonizing anybody who does and saying, you know, you're a bigot or a racist, etc. Right?
Yeah, I know. Fred, what do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do. So, this is based on the UN standards of a safe country. Just some points. The relevant laws and regulations of the country and the manner in which they are applied, observance of rights and freedoms laid down in the European Convention on Human Rights and or International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights and or Convention against Torture. In particular, the rights from which derogation cannot be made under Article 15.2 of the said European Convention, respect of the non-refoulement principle according to the Geneva Convention, provision for a system of effective remedies against violations in these rights and freedoms. So, knowing that, U.S. is a safe country. They are not migrants or refugees per se. They're, to AJ's point, shopping for better welfare. And according to the UN itself, to their statistics, in the top 5 safe countries that refugees flee to is Turkey. Second one is Uganda, then Pakistan, and then Lebanon, and then Iran. So,
well, that's why they stay until we take them.
Right. But, you know, typically they are based on the conventions there. They fulfill all those requirements. But, you know, there isn't enough uproar. Again, I pointed this out numerous times that the biggest problem that we have in Canada and primarily the West is ourselves, right? We're fighting with people who hate themselves, and these people will do whatever's in their best interest, right? And when I get to my topic, you'll see what I mean. They don't care about the laws here. They don't care about the people who are starting a new life. They're starting their life. And that's it, for themselves and their family and their tribe, etc. So, and it sickens me. Like, I wonder when these RCMP officers go home, and if they have family, daughters, sons, mothers, brothers, uncles, nephews, nieces, do they ever think what they're doing to the country? Are they that ruled by propaganda? It's just not a single one. And maybe they're afraid of losing their job, but I'm sure that you could find something meaningful. Maybe we don't hear about these people if they speak out and they let go. But certainly this is quite sickening.
I know there was an article, I think we talked about it, but I think we discussed it, but we didn't really show it. I think we just ran out of time one week, where it was talking about the number of homeless that some of these migrants who have come here or refugees, whatever you want to call them, how a lot of them end up homeless and, you know, relying on social services. And I'm kind of like, if we really cared about these people, like if we really cared about them, if they weren't pawns in some scheme, some international scheme, then we wouldn't bring them here without being in a position to properly take care of them and ourselves. Like, I mean, it just isn't really fair to them either, frankly, for the ones who are coming for the right reasons, not the ones who are playing the system like these people. But anyways, let's keep going with this video here.
Well, you sent me something
about... Go ahead, Fred. Sorry.
You sent me something about Lauren Southern, right? And her true roots.
Yes.
Her true heritage, right?
Yes.
And I, before YouTube took them down, there were videos of a certain group where they were speaking about the Kalergi plan, how important it is, and how they're the chosen people. Well, the individual that did that video specifically, I would suggest, and I'll give you the name before we're done with the show, go and watch his videos on BitChute. I have to say, I'm aware of it myself, but it was very enlightening for me and a little bit alarming just how close a lot of the rhetoric is to the Muslim rhetoric. They're really two sides of the same coin. But
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, look at the Armenian genocide, and one of the founder of it, and you just look through history and stuff, and these people, they live side by side oftentimes, not necessarily enemies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I remember I've heard things about how the linkages between the Saudis and even Israel and Palestine and all this stuff. I mean, when something continues as long as this has been continuing between these groups, there are people who are profiting very nicely. There are people who are profiting very well, who are making money from this, who are achieving whatever goal they have, and they're propagating this nonsense and probably inflaming it every few years to keep it going, even if people don't even remember how it started.
don't forget who funded the kings and queens of England in their wars.
Yeah. And that's a debt that perhaps, wasn't repaid in money, but in, long-term, kind of a long game in terms of how the world is being remapped.
Let's not forget the word Shylock. Right? It's in literature. It's there even. So.
Yep. All right.
And Shakespeare.
I need to point out the book that I'm reading, written by a very prominent Jewish professor whose career and life was railroaded by his own community, had stated they were racializing American politics in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he racialized the black community. And immediately when the black community had gone up in arms and started protesting and going into very posh Jewish areas against the teachers, they started rallying against the black people.
Yep. New Jersey, quite a bit of that. Connecticut, quite a bit of that. A lot of Jewish enclaves were very vocal against busing anywhere but here. and it's very interesting. Exactly. They own the proprities, but God help you if you're your neighbor, you're going to school with these people.
Right.
And
I don't want to focus too much on that. But
neither do I. Yeah. But if you look at Israel and the way and the policies,
Weinstein, what's his name? Epstein.
Yeah. And Lauren Simonson.
Simonson.
Yeah.
So I do want to say that on Netflix, I don't have Netflix, but you can always check what's up. They had that new documentary about the evil Christians that occupy the White House and their plans to dominate the world, written by certain someone. Well, there's a new documentary on Netflix, and it focuses primarily on, and it's kind of funny because they said it's based on true events. So what is the guy's name? Is it Chris Pratt? No, sorry, it's not Chris Pratt. The guy who plays Captain America in Avengers.
That's Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. How come they're like Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsley?
Yeah, Chris Pine. Chris is a great name.
So they love their Chris's.
I know a few Chris's.
For a while, it was like people around my age. It was it was the second most popular name behind Michael. For a long time.
I know many Chris's. I know a few at least.
Yeah. It's a fine name, sturdy. Anyways, go ahead, Fred.
It is. So
it's like Christ.
That's it. That's right. Christopher is Christ bearer. That's what it means.
Stop. Okay. get my point through. Anyway, Chris Evans is in this movie,
Mm.
and the movie depicts a bunch of very caring Jewish Mossad agents in Africa
I know
who
exactly
are
the movie you're talking about. Yep.
who are taking down the bad Africans who are killing Christians, which could be so. I don't know. It's based
Mhm.
on true events. And then you find Chris Evans and this other individual. They look like hippies, cool guys. Like they look
Yeah.
like the Dukes of Hazzard type of guys.
Yeah. They're also
Who-
Jewish, but go on.
They're also. Oh, are they really? Jesus
Chris
Christ.
Evans.
Who
Yeah,
is
I
he?
know. Hiding in plain sight, buddy.
Maybe I'm
But go ahead.
Jewish. Fuck it. Jesus Christ.
We
Anyway.
we all know AJ's Jewish, but go ahead.
He does look Arab to me, though. But anyway,
Yeah.
trying to hide
yeah.
it.
Well, I don't even know what you look like, so nothing about the way I look.
I'm Slavic, so as Slavic it just be
So
Slavic
you're like
Jew. Go ahead.
part Asian or something. Then all right.
part Asian.
He might as well be. I mean, he's just surrounded by them. But go ahead.
Fuck. I have. Well, we'll talk about that later, right?
Yes, we will.
My spy wife. But anyway, in that show, they depict the Israelis as like the heroes, right? They came in and saved a village of black Christians, but it panned to today and years, just like a couple of years ago, they were actively kicking out Somalians. Even when the Somalians were allowed to live in, they treated them as second-class
Make a
citizens.
movie- yeah, not making a movie about that. Black Somalians, Ethiopians, black Jews who have a history that goes back as far, if not further, because some would argue the original Jews.
They probably are the first fucking Jews.
Yeah, seriously.
And
And-
the real ones, the ones that are pretending today, they supplanted it and took over.
yeah. Hey, people have been replaced throughout history, so that wouldn't surprise me at all. But anyways, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that you have to be very careful with and I'm all media, but also rebel media, because at one side they're pitching it. And when I saw that documentary, I've seen a part of that, of the Lawrence Southern one, but not the full version, because in the chat it's been taken down. I'm assuming it's going to be taken down as well, right? But we do know, and I've seen videos which do get taken down, which they talk about the Calgary Plan, the necessity for the one world government. Now, I don't think it's conspiracy anymore, because we see what's going on, right? I mean, the Jeffrey Epsteins has similar connectivity to the whole concept of one world government. So I don't think we have a prime minister. I think we have a cabal that for some unknown reason, everybody's afraid to stand up to. And I'll bring similarities in that respect with Rodrigo Duterte.
Well, you know what's interesting is happening right now too is that what Israel is not liking what Trump is doing is that he's making Israel a partisan issue, right? Whereas before it was not a partisan issue, both sides were, kind of for it. But now I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I'm not saying it's like some 4D chess move. Maybe it is. He really doesn't like Israel. I don't know, but it's not good for them because making it bipartisan issue or partisan issue is not good, because now it's like I think you're going to see soon like more and more of a kind of dislike for Israel in the mainstream populace and stuff like that, right? And whereas before, like, you'd have a bunch of Congress people and whatnot, and they all vote in favor of AIPAC and stuff like that. But now you have Ilhan Omar and the other couple people, and soon the public opinion is going to sway, is going to change. And if you're like a Congress person that votes in favor of Israel, then you're probably not going to get reelected. So it's kind of good that he's going all like, you're anti-Semitic and you hate the Jews and whatever, right? Because it's kind of making people see Israel kind of for what it is. And I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose, but you know, their hold on Washington or a lot of politics is starting to dwindle, I think, in my opinion. That's what it seems like to me. Because people are waking up to it and be like, well, how come Israel can get away with this? How come they can do this? How come they can do that? How come they can have nukes?
Yep.
They can do all this other crap without people's consent. You know, it's bullshit. But you know, it's just a matter of time.
And the thing is that we can't, like, they can criticize just in that book, right? The Holocaust industry. They have like this sort of warranted get out of jail card in terms of calling everybody out for their mistakes. But if you call them out for their misdeeds, it's a really bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, like, I've seen numerous videos, like, you know, where they call out, you know, it's the behavior is a lot like you would see with very fundamentalist Muslims. It's exactly the same. It's just the words are different.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
we
got a slightly off topic.
We got a lot off topic, but they come from the same. They come from the same pile of dirt in the same corner of the world, and they're trying to dominate in different ways. Yeah, they're trying to dominate in different ways. The Muslims with strength in numbers, and the Israeli by working as the people behind the people. Yeah. Anyways, by the way, I downloaded that copy of that Lorman Simonson video just for.
It's very good. Yeah.
Safety.
I mean, I've been going through his. I know we'll talk about it at the end because I don't want to have any issues with your channel, but I'll mention the guy and where to find him.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
one
his
thing
name?
Slavey mentioned here in the chat.
I remember that
I'll
guy.
bring it up near the end of the at the end.
Yeah,
I don't want
go ahead. Move on with the topic there.
Yeah. Just to quickly scan through some of the comments in the chat here. So Slavey mentioned that Israel has been actively warming the Middle East. Absolutely. They're using American weapons to do strikes across. It's kind of like they don't get attacked because, frankly, they have nukes and other weapons, but also they have the U.S. to back them. So they have to. Anybody times they talk about being threatened, it's a joke because they may not have an army with the same numbers, although everybody has mandatory military service. So the whole country is basically the military. But weapon-wise, technology-wise, they outdo their neighbors by 1,000 to 1, like the U.S. does with every other country. Jesus had to leave just for a bit of a doctor's orders thing, but he was encouraging us to like, share, and subscribe. Mama Bear was talking about her dating life. She dated a Chris in Quebec. Just put that comment up for people to read on their own time. Anyways, let's switch back to the video and keep going here. Right.
Before they get here, because in anticipation of a quote big check. That is what the driver who picks up the illegals here and takes them deeper into Canada to a different RCMP facility told me. Take a listen to this conversation I had with him. Does this take the people that come across the border to a
police station?
How often does someone come across?
I
think people can see the video because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say when.
Are you seeing it in Zoom?
Yeah, I'm seeing it on the feed now. It's fine.
Okay. Watch it on Zoom so you can stay along with our conversation because there's a bit of a delay. Thanks.
They come in. It depends on when planes come in. You know.
Planes. What do you mean planes?
If they come in at Plattsburgh at the airport.
They fly to the closest airport to then.
That's Plattsburgh is the closest airport to the border, so.
Wow.
And they get off there and they take the cab over here.
Our employee there.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that they had the money to buy a plane ticket.
You'd be surprised.
Just one note here. Isn't this? I think Fred, we mentioned this on Friday night. Isn't this like why cover this poor guy's face? Like how many bus drivers from commissionaires built like this, talking like this, no even voice masking? This poor guy is fired. Like he's got to be. Anyway, sorry. That's something I noticed.
Some of them spend their money on the other side.
I wonder if he knew he's being recorded
because they know when they cross over, they're going to end up with a check in their hands. You know.
Now this problem is going to get worse and worse and worse. Justin Trudeau has no interest in being strong on border control because it makes him look weak on being a lefty. Of course, you can't call out people breaking the law and crossing the border illegally without looking a little bit like Donald Trump, and that just doesn't jive with Justin Trudeau's base. It's a problem for him, and it's going to be a weak spot going into this next election. And if anyone wants to see any change, they're going to have to start asking Justin Trudeau to speak out and stop what's going on here. For the Rebel.media, I'm Cian Bexton.
See, Trudeau doesn't have to speak out because his main competition is Andrew Scheer, and Scheer's afraid of even bringing any attention to this because he'd be called a racist and a bigot. So he has nothing to worry about on this file, frankly. And if Max isn't going to be in the debates,
at all.
no, exactly, because he wants to stay as far away from it as possible. And they've neutralized Max by keeping him out of the debates. Not that he was going to win, but at least the conversation would be had. The Greens definitely aren't going to talk about it. Quebec is profiting from the system, so the Bloc definitely is not going to talk about it, or not talk about it in any kind of negative way, because these immigrants are coming into, even the ones who aren't these refugees coming through Roxham Road. I mean, this is on Quebec's border, so on one hand, they're not locking it down, but on the other hand, the people who come in legally, Quebec has that entrepreneurship program where people pay the Quebec government to get in, and then these people move to Toronto or Vancouver or anywhere but Montreal or everywhere but Quebec City. So Fred, AJ, what are your thoughts here?
Well, yeah, this has been going on for a long time, and it's not in Trudeau's interest for it to stop. Obviously he wants it. He has no incentive for it to stop going because these people are going to be, his voting base essentially. So why would he stop it? What incentive does he have to, stop it in any way? And obviously Scheer is going to try to probably, slow or try to stop somehow, the people coming through. But, whenever I hear Michelle Rempel speak about the people already here, they usually don't talk about returning them or sending them back or anything like that. It's like, oh, well, we need to, give money to Ontario so they can pay for this. And we need to find ways to pay for this because it's horrible what Trudeau is doing to these poor immigrants that are crossing the border illegally, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. But yeah, it's not going to stop, especially under Trudeau. He wants these people to keep coming across. And, I remember hearing a story the other day here in Manitoba, because in Emerson, they're asking for money too. They're like, well, in Quebec, they got money. How come we're not getting any money? And they're like, fuck you. So, people, even the people here as well, like on the ground, they're not necessarily asking like, oh, how can we send these people back? They're like, well, how can I get my cut? Mm-hmm. How can I get my money for this? Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something I was talking about earlier. It's like, okay, you're going to give these people stuff. Then what about the people who are here? Like, let's take care of us too. While we apparently have all this money to do things. But anyways, go ahead, Fred.
It goes beyond that as well, right?
Sure.
And it's not just these drifters that are coming in as of late. And I'll get to it when I get to my topic. But at the bank, and I have an arm's length of understanding of what's going on there. They get a bank account, they get a credit card account, they get immediate access to financing for a home. Optical's paid, and people in this country don't get optical.
Nope.
You get a very good dental coverage that most people get basic stuff here. These guys are set.
Anything here, frankly. Yeah.
Now, I saw an article not too long ago. You know that organization called Habitat for Humanity?
Yep.
Okay. So it seems these drifter miscreants have infiltrated the Habitat for Community program, because that program is set for Canadians to be able to, if they can't afford a home in this shithole of a city, then they could turn to Habitat for Humanity and put yourself on a 100-year waiting list, because I know we've tried. And if you make the list, you you obviously it's not for free. You make the minimum payments, but it's a lot lower than the market value. Well, guess who has usurped most Canadians for the habitat community? It's a lot of Syrians and migrants from the Middle East.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Not surprised at all.
And the Habitat for Humanity has brought this concern to light, and no one has done anything about it. The same thing not too long ago about the food bank. In the food bank, the food is being taken by people who can afford going to the grocery store and purchasing food. So they're just going to the food bank and keeping the money in their wallets. So, and to verbal armaments.
Says.
Sorry, go ahead.
To Verbal's point, Scheer isn't going to do shit, because I've heard on the way home from work, because Michelle Rampel has her beautiful little YouTube and she comes out all pretty and everything. You know, can you believe what Trudeau said? Like the kids in the schoolyard, the typical thing. Do you know what he said? You know what they said? But meanwhile, in Parliament, on the way home last summer, she said any of these migrants that have already landed in Canada will be given citizenship status. So I'd like to know, maybe you're a ventriloquist. Maybe she's that by trade, because she's talking from both sides of the mouth, but saying different things. That's a talent that is unseen before. And call up the guy that hosted That's Incredible, because and we think we have a conservative government. We don't. It's fucking depressing. It is how like you have. You know, I never trusted politicians, but at least in some way, I always expected them to raid and pillage the public purse. But you know, fine, outside of that own gain, I always thought that they may have some interest.
Sorry, go ahead. No, forget it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would always think that they would have some, self-interest to help their own people. But,
Nope.
So guys, before we go on, Fred, I think maybe there's echo again with your voice meter or something. We have to. I just realized that I started the Zoom meeting and apparently started from my account. So let's not change anything, but we're going to have to disconnect for a minute, come back, because I don't have a paid account. We have to take a little break for like a minute. So folks, we'll be back in about a minute or so. I'm just going to play a little video for everybody else while Fred and AJ and I get set up once again. Okay, so hang tight and we will be right back. Okay, guys, I'll send you a link in Telegram.
Hey, use my password. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not changing anything again. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's great.
Yo.
Hey guys, you back? Actually, just me and you. Okay. Let me invite Fred back. 1 second. Invitation.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Hey, Jay. Hi.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yo.
Oh. Hang on. Nope, unmute. Sorry, I was on mute. Hi. AJ. Oh, shoot. AJ.
Yo. Yo.
Hey. Sorry about that. I was on mute before.
Okay. All right. For
Just
some
need
reason, the
Fred and we can
screen,
get going again. Sorry?
screen looks a little messed up
Fuzzy?
on my end there. Or I don't know.
It's the video quality on this comedy video is pretty funny. Actually, we're still live, so our chat friends can hear us, I believe. Folks in the chat, let me know if you can hear my voice and AJ's as well. We just need Fred, and we'll be back in the game.
Yeah, Fred's gonna be gone. Lost with his $2,000 computer.
I think it was more than that, but anyways, we'll see.
Oh God. Jesus. I don't know.
It's video. I just found this "we'll be right back" thing just to find something to kill some time while we have to take this break.
Right.
And
People doing stupid shit.
yeah, Sidewalk. I see your comment here. We didn't intend to go on that have any conversation about that stuff at all. It just I don't know where we went in that direction, but I agree. These guys, there are people who take what we're talking about. Let me turn down the video a little bit. There's people who take what's said online and just they don't know they don't have any measure, to use a term that Fred uses sometimes. They don't know how to handle themselves. I don't even know. Okay, and it looks like Fred has for some reason started another Zoom. So let's go over to that one. So the folks in the chat, you stay right where you are, and we'll be right over there. Okay, AJ, did you get the link as well?
Let me see here. I didn't get it. We'll get it.
Okay. Let me tell him to send you the link. This is the best part of the show for everybody. AJ, the link. Okay, I'm going to disconnect and go over to this other one. So, folks in the chat, you guys stay right there. We'll be right back.
Yo, can you hear me? Or am I muted?
Yes, I can hear you. No, I was trying to get
It's
in.
okay. It's okay. All right, everybody, we're back. I hope you've been enjoying our video interlude. Probably better than the usual technical chaos that we usually have here. Oh, jeez. AJ and Fred, let me make sure I share my screen with you guys. Hang on.
God, that's funny.
PRS, can you hear AJ? Can you hear Fred? Can you hear me? Let's see. There's a bit of a
Mama Bear
delay
says
since.
she's
Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking. Oh, this is not going to end well. Oh.
All right.
This isn't going to end well. Okay. Just want to make sure the folks in the chat can hear. Oh, jeez. Hear. I heard they could hear you, HA, but they should be able to hear Fred and me as well. So, folks in the chat, if you can stop laughing for just long enough to confirm whether or not you can hear Fred and myself. Oh, wow. Jeez. Yep, all good. Okay. Oh, jeez.
Right.
Okay,
Stop.
I think they can hear us. I think they can hear us just fine. All right. Oh, well, hold on. One last one. Yep. Sounds about right. All right. And we're back. All right. So, welcome back to the Roundtable. Sorry about those technical issues. We shouldn't have another issue with things. We switched over to Fred's screen sharing solution, which doesn't have a limit. So, thanks for that, Fred. And let's get going.
Yeah, thanks
with
a
the next
lot,
article.
Fred.
Yeah, seriously, Fred. Jeez.
Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, Fred, didn't you do basically everything that we talked about and we just showed in that video? Wasn't that you today, basically falling down your stairs or something in your house?
Yeah. Fuck you did the same thing last year. Broke your whole leg.
Yeah, that's true. I did. I owned it.
It was brutal. AJ, you should have seen him.
Hopped my way. Yeah. Hopped my way up the stairs. Hopped my way into an Uber and hopped my way into the hospital. Into a wheelchair.
And then my dad did the same thing for a few months later, and then walked home with a foot that was hanging off his ankle because he's an idiot.
But your dad's
I
healed
fell
up.
down
He's
the
got his
stairs
Wolverine
today.
powers.
Sprained my ankle.
Your dad healed up nicely though. He's a machine. He's the Terminator basically. He's got that Slavic blood, Wolverine powers. So. Okay, so that article I showed, that video was the main thing I had queued up, but I know, Fred, you had some stuff you wanted to share. Definitely
talk about
more
that article that
informative.
AJ
And
AJ, if you want to...
yeah, if you have something, then share it over, and while I share this, remember, never give up. For those of you who joined at the beginning of the video, while I was stalling, got to see this. So, which article do you guys want to do next? Because, Fred, all the ones that you shared with me have been queued up.
There's an article about comments being made that anything questioning climate change is a partisan issue, which is kind of funny anyway, because...
Yeah. So, there's a Globe and Mail article I sent you there in the chat.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw it.
I'm looking for it.
But
hang on.
Apparently, because of... Maxime Bernier, not believing in climate change like all the other parties do, it's now made it into like a partisan issue. So now other parties can't speak about it, or certain groups or charities connected with them, because they'll have to sign up as like a third party or something. So it's pretty hilarious how... they're all mad at Maxime Bernier for doing this, but if you share the article or...
is it the one about hate speech in Bernier?
The
one from Saskatchewan?
No.
Okay,
No.
hang on.
He put it into the chat.
In Telegram or the chat in Zoom? Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Was it in the old chat before we switched over to Fred?
All right.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben.
1 second here. Let me share it.
I have it queued. I can.
Sure.
I think I do have it queued.
Okay, then you
can-
share your screen.
Okay, I'll share.
Oh, hold
my
on.
screen.
No, it's okay. I got it now. Hang on.
Okay.
Hopefully, I don't have any limits or something on the globe. We'll see. Paste and go. Hopefully it'll show up. And it is. Wow, it's a miracle. Here we go. AJ, you can tell us all about it. Go ahead.
All right, so it says saying climate change is real could be seen as partisan activity during election campaign. Elections Canada warned. So scroll down a little bit. A pre-election chill has descended over some environment charities after Elections Canada warned them that discussing the dangers of climate change during the upcoming federal campaign could be deemed partisan activity. So they're pretty up in arms and mad about this, which is hilarious. In Elections Canada, official warned groups in a training session earlier this summer that because Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada, has expressed doubts about the legitimacy of climate change, any group that promotes it as real or an emergency could be considered partisan, said Tim Gray, executive director of the advocacy group Environmental Defense. Any partisan activity, including advertising, surveys, or any kind of campaign costing at least $500, would require a charity to register as a third party for the election, an onerous requirement that could jeopardize a group's charitable tax status, Gray said. So, see, this is what standing up for what you believe in gets. Now, because all the other parties, like the Conservatives, are cucks, and they're like, whoa, we believe it. Of course it's real, and this and that. Now because Maxime Bernier has taken a stand and said, no, it's all bullshit. Now they can't completely propagandize everybody during the election about climate change and be like, oh, you're all gonna die, So it's like, oh, good. But if you go down, so it's like 5 of the 6 political parties expected to have any chance of winning a seat in the upcoming campaign agree. So, as you see the 5 out of any 6 that have any chance of winning.
I like how they put that, why throw away your vote on these guys?
Yeah, the Greens don't have a chance.
Yeah.
The Black
winning a
Québécois,
seat, they could probably win a seat. Maybe 1, 2.
Okay,
maybe, I don't know.
But winning the election.
No, definitely not.
No. They're not going to win. The NDP's not going to win. The Black Québécois not going to win. But they allow all these people in the fucking, the debates and all this crap. But whatever. However, is the one outlier, he believes that if climate change is real, it is a natural cycle of the earth and not an emergency. So they're writing this oh my God. He thinks it's just a normal thing. The main reason for climate change is not human activity, Bernier said Sunday in Gatineau, Quebec, where his party was holding its first convention. There is no climate change urgency in this country, he said in a speech in June. He also disagrees that carbon dioxide, which experts say is responsible for 3/4 of greenhouse emissions globally, is bad. CO2 is not pollution, he tweeted. It's what comes out of the mouth when you breathe and what nourishes plants, right? So just, saying what other people just basic shit, really. And just saying that is enough for, other parties not to be able to talk about it anymore, which is great. Because of that, Elections Canada is warning that any third party that promotes information about carbon dioxide as a pollutant or climate change as an emergency could be considered to be indirectly advocating against Bernier and his party. Activities can be considered partisan by Elections Canada, even if they don't mention a candidate or party by name, the agency rules say. So Gray says the impact is stifling the conversation about climate change at a critical time. It's we're not already being bombarded about shit with climate change constantly. There's don't worry, we're gonna have a chance to talk about it. At this point, unless I get a greater clarification about the writ is dropped, we would stop doing anything online that talks about climate change, which is our entire mandate, he said. So, that's pretty much it. I don't want to read the majority. The rest is just kind of nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about how they were being audited under the conservative government. And they're like, oh, we don't want to go back to those days where, we weren't getting completely funded by the government, and now they are, etc. So this is good, and this is a good thing that Max is just a byproduct of him just going against the grain, because the liberals, the conservatives, they're looking at the polls, right, and they see, oh well, majority of Canadians believe in climate change, so we're gonna say it's a problem and this and that, right? But really, like, I say this a lot too, is like people are fairly sheepish, they're followers. And if your leadership starts to say like climate change is bullshit, then you'll start to see the polls start to change a lot. And you shouldn't really believe the polls to begin with anyways. That's just a lot of the times used to manipulate people. I'm not saying they're completely inaccurate every time, but look at how they're keeping Maxime Bernier out of the debates. Is, oh well, judging by the polls, it looks like you have no chance of even getting a seat. So it's like, okay, well, maybe participating in the debate could change that. And your polls, I don't really necessarily trust them. So it's dubious at best, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
exactly.
I don't know if anybody else got anything you want to add to that.
Fred, how about you?
Outside, I'm so sick of hearing about the climate. It's funny how they always bring up like this partisan politics. Our politics is partisan by design, right? We have different parties, and different parties going to talk about different things. So if they go into the debates and someone wants to talk about the goddamn climate, and we're all going to die, that's fine. Let them. And then if someone else can say, you're full of shit, here's our climate data, blah 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 blah. That's why it's called a debate. Setting out rules you can't say and ban people from debates and whatnot. It's all quite silly, but I think people should. I mean, I'm just really surprised how people can't see that a lot of information is being suppressed from them. Like, if you're trying to keep someone out of the debates, why? Like, I wouldn't want to know more about it, wouldn't want to demand it. But we see what's happening in the U.S. is you have the left who've completely lost it. It's 10 years of education has totally warped the minds of a lot of young people, perpetrated by certain boomers with certain culture.
Right.
Completely void of it. They're void of any common sense and accountability. So you have a plethora of people who are just unwilling to kind of work things out on their own, or maybe question the narrative. Always question the narrative. Like, it doesn't matter what source it's coming from, left, right, middle. Always look between the lines and try to work things out on your own. Try to put the truth together.
No. It's a 4D chess move by Trudeau to keep Max out of the debates because, reasons and shit.
Right.
Actually, Howard Garrett made a good comment here. Yeah, Howard Garrett made a good comment here. How can you debate if all parties agree on all things? And I think, you guys were talking about how things are partisan by design, and that's true. Like, it's not a debate. It's like it's a handshake. Yeah, I agree slightly differently, but really the same way. Okay, yeah.
That takes on a whole new meaning to say that. Partisan by design, because as we see, because he's not being partisan, or whatever, now they have to now they can't propagandize us as easily, right?
Mm-hmm. Slavey makes a good point here. If Trudeau was smart, which he's not, he'd get Max into the debate to split the Conservative vote. And yes, that is true, Slavey, but I also think that maybe they're a little concerned about what he will say when he finally has a national audience. And how that will go against the narratives. I think there's a lot of people who will agree with a lot of what he has to say, and they'll finally realize there's a choice. Not that they're going to make that choice in, I guess, October, November. They're still going to go in this election with whoever they want to go normally. But yeah, I can kind of go to both ways. Well, if he gets trounced in the next election, then he's gone, and I could see a remerger of the conservative side of things for the next election, maybe with the PPC.
I'm not voting, but you're splitting the vote. You know, you sound exactly like old white guy when he's like, I'm not. You're splitting the vote. I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing then? I'm like, are you not voting or not? Like, for me, if I'm not voting, I wouldn't give a fuck about splitting the vote. I don't know. That's just me.
This is the same logic I've used to come to the conclusion where, and Chris knows this. He's pointed this out before. I don't vote, but I'm voting as a middle finger to the parties that have been in power for since day one, and this is something new, and I'm voting for them. I don't put a lot of faith in Maxime, but I'm it's more like this is what this guy said about immigration, about the economy, about climate change, and I'm voting for that. And that's my representative vote. That's kind of like me writing to these MPs and saying, you're all full of shit. That's the only way I can hurt them, through the checkbox for Maxime. Obviously, they can't stand him. Do I think he's going to be any better? I don't know. But at least, like you said, I think, a no vote is wasted at this point, because how else are you going to tell these guys, fuck you and your stupid ideas?
Right.
So it's just we've come to the logical conclusion that this is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And again, I stand by my point. I think he could use this to his advantage, and I don't know, do a closed circuit televised question and answer with a host, and be it Stephen Molyneux, whatever.
He doesn't need to do something even televised. He's got YouTube. He's got social media.
That's what I said before, but I don't think AJ was keen on that. But I think it's workable. It's doable. At least he's getting his face out there and he's answering the questions.
Yeah. He's got to work around the media, because the media is not going to support him unless they're forced to support him, because of course, because people are voting for him. He wins some seats or something. That's what they're going to take him seriously.
There's a bigger benefit to this, and that is that every time he's had an interview with CBC, for the most part, they've cut and edited, and without his permission. Whereas if he's on YouTube Live or whatever medium he wants to use, he's not going to be edited.
Well, during the live debate, it's going to be more difficult to edit. They will edit.
Well, you can do other things. You can prep the questions for like they were doing in the last in the U.S.
I don't agree with you though that it would be better for him to go on YouTube and do all this stuff. Like, he can do that any time.
Yeah.
He can do that today.
No, but he's not getting. He can't do that hold on.
Yeah.
He can't do that any time, because he doesn't know the questions that are going to be asked. So,
but also, I don't think that YouTube is better, but I'm saying it's better than nothing. Like, they're going to block him from getting into the mainstream debates. So he has to answer question for question. It's not going to be the same as in a debate, because people can ask follow-up questions and it'll be like a back and forth, but it'll be, at least you'll get his stance on certain things and his comments and what other people would have, on what he would have said in a debate if he was invited. So that's all he can do. Yeah. I don't know how many people he has on his YouTube channel or anything at this point, even who would see it.
Yeah, well,
and then, of course,
I'm just saying,
the algorithm will bury it, but
Yeah, he needs to, like, it's good. It needs to be in the debates, right? Like, that's that will, get you to see the normies, because the normies are not going to be going on YouTube and shit and looking up the debates, right? So he needs to be a part of the debates. But Faye's asking, and whatnot asking, like, when did those rules change recently, where they just made it to keep Maxime Bernier out of the debates? Well, that was just recently. That wasn't that like a month or two ago?
It was
They
very
did
recent.
that.
I'd say in the last 3 or so months or so. But yeah, but
Right.
it was still very recent in election year.
It's very
I mean, he's
recent.
basically
Even if
changing
it
the
was a
rules
couple
midstream.
years ago, that's
Yeah.
irrelevant. Because
Yeah.
just look at the rules itself. Should there be any rules like this to begin with? Like, oh, well, you need to have a party that's elected in your party to participate in the debates. You're like, okay, that's bullshit. That's obviously created just to target Maxim. But people will be like I Faye in the chat, well, has he met some of the criteria? It's like, so now you legitimize the criteria that Trudeau just created. It's really funny to see how people, there's laws that get made by liberals and then or by the shitty laws, and then it tends to work for those people, and then they're like, well, you got to follow the law, and you're like, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, it frustrates me, it annoys me and shit. And you're like, people will be like, oh, I'm for free speech, and then well, okay, well, if we have a law banning these people, I'm okay with it. Or if it's banning or if it's censoring the PPC or something, then oh well, who cares? I don't want them to split the vote. So yada 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 yada. It's like now I completely forget all of my principles and what I believe in because it's the ends justify the means, right?
Mhm.
Whatever.
Okay.
Rant's
Is there anything else
over.
you guys- yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in this article, or do you want to move on to the next one?
We can move on.
So, Fred, in the description, when I saw a number of articles that you'd shared with me this week, I just, rather than put links to each one, I just put China, China, China. Because there's a lot of stuff going on with China and Hong Kong and all this stuff. Is that something you want to talk about on tonight's show, or do you have something else you want to discuss?
No, I want to talk about, we can play some videos there. You can play the one where the Hong Kong supporters rally outside the consulate in Vancouver.
Okay, hang on. I think I have that.
An idea.
Right. Yep, I got it. Okay, hang on. I'm going to share that right now. And away we go.
Oh no! Democracy for Hong Kong! Democracy for Hong Kong!
The energy in their voices. Like, wow.
300,000 Canadians are working and living in Hong Kong. Many more Canadians will be visiting Hong Kong for business, professional, or personal reasons. Some may just be passing through Hong Kong for a few days. What might happen to these Canadians if they are being extradited to mainland China from Hong Kong? Certainly, they would not be allowed to live in their own multi-million-dollar mansions, free to go shopping and speak with their lawyers, friends, and families like men want job.
No, it's really
We're not
funny.
satisfied with Carrie Lam's answer to
called them
suspend the
out.
bill because we don't trust the government enough to to act in good faith for merely just suspending it. We need her to completely withdraw it.
I came to speak because this is an issue for every Canadian. Human rights and the rule of law is in danger, so that not just Hong Kong people are being
Because Hong Kong people need
being
more
dragged into
houses,
China, and disappear like Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. Any Canadian residing in Hong Kong is in danger. Any Canadian changing planes in Hong Kong,
Again,
as long as you're on the
where's-
Hong Kong soil, they can.
Take them
Go ahead,
off,
Fred.
Ticket them and give them hassle them for being out on the street, like Rance Derrick and those guys were, right?
Sidewalk made a comment here. They're so suppressed, and yeah, that's when I heard that voice, the energy in their voices. I was like,
before you begin,
that's basically it.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of my script. So, you guys know that my wife is Asian, right? Chinese. We had a discussion about what's happening in Hong Kong and stuff, and it turned out into a vicious argument. And I'm kind of late. Okay, I'm waiting for my kids to get older so I can fuck off. And it just really pissed me off. Some of the bullshit Chinese rhetoric that I heard. She's so programmed to support China. And I was like, well, the Chinese students there have a real gripe about being extradited for any crimes. And she's like, well, there was a Chinese kid cut off a cop's hand or a finger. I'm like, yeah, okay, so they're being beaten up. Like, they have a right to reciprocate the kind of violence that's being perpetrated to these people, right? Oh, how dare they? They're asking Justin Trudeau for help, and how dare they're carrying American flags. Yeah, so what? It's really bad in America. You shouldn't talk about China. You don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, why are you here? Fine, I'm gonna go move out. I'm gonna go back to China. I don't know what to say. Like, all I can do is kind of roll back my eyes to the back of my head, going, "What the fuck did I do to get into this?" If I can go back in time at where I met this person and club and beat the shit out of myself, I would. To have someone like that completely disregards and denigrates the place where she's made her home and a family, and where her father was saved because back in her country, he was a police officer and they were willing to let him die. He had a heart issue. He needed immediate surgery, and they kept postponing. Oh, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You okay. You don't have heart trouble. And, am I live? I don't know if you guys can
you're
hear me.
live. You're live. Yeah, go ahead.
So, the moment he landed here in the hospital, he got his triple bypass. And I told you this before, when a few months after, when you're in recovery, on his Chinese TV that he was getting here, he stood up and gave the salute during that annual military march that China does. And I was just thinking to myself, how fucking dumb you have to be that programmed. These people were your own people were about to let you die. And I tried bringing shit up. I go, Mao, like I said, Canton is the powerhouse of China. The northern, the first Yellow Emperor had slaughtered a lot of Cantonese kings when he was unifying China. And she keeps going, well, where are the people going to go? Where are people going to go? What are you going to do? You have to have a strong nation. She's such a statist. And I'm kind of mitigating myself by saying, yeah, she mentioned there was a criminal who went from Hong Kong and killed a young girl, because they're all slightly insane there, right? Threw a boiling of hot pot water into her face and started kicking her in the head and everything, and some ex-girlfriend, right? And she's saying, well, they can't extradite him because he ran back to Hong Kong. And I said, well, in that case, yes, absolutely, he should face the full extent of the law. They should, if he killed the girl, they should definitely hang him in the middle of the square. I totally agree. I don't disagree with that. First make sure it's the right guy. But, again, I said, can I read about something like that? No. And then she's like, well, at my work, everybody's like, these Hong Kongese. I'm saying, that's not what I'm getting.
Tribalism.
I said, there's millions of Hong Kongese supporting what's happening. The protesters, these kids, right? They're being, and it's, they're so ungrateful about being here. And this is why I say multicultural by design cannot work unless you're several generations in, because you will always by design and de facto lean to your closest tribe, the people who you know the best, your familiarity with them and the culture and everything else. And like outwardly with my kids in the car saying that I'm going to move out, like I love China. And I said, go to
Yeah.
China. Shit, get the fuck out. Go.
Well, the
What are you
girl
waiting?
from Moulin Rouge, I think, who's Chinese, came in support of Hong Kong as well. I mean, not Hong Kong, but the police, the Chinese police. Now, a lot of people are saying they want to boycott her, as well as a Chinese liberal candidate in, I think, Vancouver or Ontario. I forget his name, but you see that it's the tribalism of people. They recently came from that country, etc., and they're like, oh, I support China, fuck these Hong Kong people, and it's hard to have a unified front as a country towards anything when it's completely multicultural like it is right now, where you got, it's like we want to, I don't know, stop trading with this certain country, but then you got a bunch of other people be like, no, that's bad. We got to keep because my family lives there or something like that, right? We're like, oh, fuck, well, now here we got to deal with this.
It reminds me of segregation. The one thing that bothered me the most during the Croat-Serbian affair was him going out and protesting.
Croatia.
The only reason they were protesting is because Mulrooney was funding the Yugoslav government. And this is where I say, don't get involved in other people's family affairs. Fuck off and leave the world alone. If there's something that you can do to trade in terms of financial value, then do it. By all means, do not get involved in other people's affairs. Leave it alone. The best thing is remove yourself from vexation. And she got so heated on me, so pissed off. You don't know Chinese. I go, actually, dear, I know more about Chinese history than 99% of the Chinese in this country, including you. Right? They don't, like, I brought up Tiananmen Square. I said, what about, she goes, good. Those students deserved exactly what they got. And I said, oh my God. I'm actually hearing you say that a kid deserves to be run over with a tank by the state. She says, those people are not human. What do they expect us to do? Starve? I go, Mao killed, known 20 million, but the number they say is 40 million of his own people. What about Russia? What about America? It's impossible to argue with someone. She reminds me of those crazy leftists in the US. It's like void of any education. Meanwhile, she has an education where she can calculate the square root of Jupiter in 3.2 seconds. Right? She scores 100% on everything. But my dad read an article in the Scientific American about autism, and the biggest thing in very heavily autistic people, the functionality is incredible, right? Like functional wise, they can excel in many different things, mathematics, music, whatever, right? But in terms of emotional maturity, they lack it completely. Apathy. And this is what I see in the majority of the Chinese people, incredibly apathetic, which leads me only to believe that most of them are autistic, because it's amazing when I was traveling through her hometown that when we were at the Hong Kong border, they were treating her differently. Now, they called them roaches, right? Or locusts. They called the North Chinese, even from Canton, like Tianjin and shit. And I also told her, what's the point? Why you want Hong Kong to be a part of China so bad? It hasn't been a part of China. The people don't want to be a part of China. Tianjin, which borders Hong Kong, is doing way better financially, economically, port-wise, than Hong Kong did in the last 10 years. They're becoming a very big, huge international hub for transport. And it is still driving her mad. And I would bring up, what about Taiwan? So you can't bleed or breed this shit out. maybe you can over 5 generations, but this is the kind of ethos that you have in this country. Now I'm going to touch on something else. Well, sidewalk, I knew I won the argument because she started getting personal. When a woman starts getting personal, you won the argument. So it just bothered me how frantically she was such a nationalist, especially getting what she gets here in this country and having a family of mixed birth, right? So obviously my cock was good enough for her. Anyway, so you have a group of another Asian a group of Asian people, the Filipinos. And as we know, Rodrigo Duterte is a staunch anti-American, anti-Western kind of guy. And it's fine. I guess, to each his midget. Now, the little midget, people don't know, shot someone at 16 in high school and was a known commie, a big-time commie. And his grandmother, maternal grandmother, was a Muslim from the area of Mindanao that he's leveling now. So I looked into this person because the Filipinos send millions annually out the country from Canada to the Philippines, right? And this little midget's a little bit belligerent in my case when it comes to I'm going to send you the garbage. I would say, no problem. When you send the ship of garbage, I'll fill the containers with the Filipinos, ship them back to you. See how you like them apples. Because right now, he is working with the Chinese. And he has issues in the South China Sea with them, right? They keep encroaching on his naval waters. But the Chinese, as usual, promised him a bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow. So he's like, okay, fuck it. Doesn't matter. You guys can, come in. This is exactly what they've done in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. This is what they're doing in the Congo. Mm-hmm. Right? They're offering, I forgot I think it was the Congo. The guy's been
all over Africa. All over Africa.
Yeah. I think it was Congo, but one of the specific ones I was reading about it, this guy was president for 36 years. I think it was an interview I sent you, Chris.
Yeah.
And where the Chinese, they like staunch dictators because it's easy to control them. But one of the guys they were talking to, one of the legislators, was saying that they bring in their own workers. They don't want to deal with
Stop it! There are kids
African.
Oh, sorry. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's very weird that now you have this, and the Chinese right now are the biggest diaspora. There was an article not too long ago in the National Post. They were talking about, again, bringing up the topic of the security concerns for Canada. The biggest one is China. Mm-hmm. Again, in the National Post just last week, I'm not going to bring it up.
Okay.
But to summarize it, the guy who was leading the report, this is another report outside the one we spoke of, mm-hmm. which was, the laundering of huge monies into the real estate market, mm-hmm. which is another form of military conquest, right? It doesn't. Military conquest doesn't have to be through tanks and planes and bombs.
Okay, Fred. Sorry to interrupt because I know you can talk about this forever. Read the chat. We'll be right back, folks, in a minute.
Oh.
Okay, thanks.
Where we have to restart it again or something? Or?
Yep. Same link.
You're doing it online.
Same link.
I thought we're on
weird.
Frederick's.
I don't know why. Same link. We got less than a minute left. Less than a minute left.
All right. So you want me to jump in, back in?
Yep. Same link.
Jesus Christ.
Yo,
Hey.
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Sidewalk asking if the stream will end at 11 o'clock. Maybe around that time, AJ. I mean, we're started an hour early, so we might end an hour earlier than usual.
Yeah, I didn't know you were starting an hour early.
Yeah.
Yeah, informed me there. So
Yeah. No problem. We talked about it on... I can't remember we talked about it. Anyways, it's fine. So as soon as Fred rejoins, I know I am the host because I'm the first one back, and it's making the first person in the hosts. I'm not sure why Fred isn't the first one, but
right. Well, I was
when he
just
joins, I'll
arguing
try. Yeah.
about
No, I noticed
supply
that the do you want to talk about the farm thing when we come back? Oh,
Aren't we back already?
We are back, but we're waiting on Fred.
Oh, well, I can just talk about it now.
Sure. Let me turn down this "We'll Be Back" compilation. We'll be back.
Yeah. No, I don't have too much to say.
Wow.
Like I don't know how many times I've ouch. That looks like it hurt. But I don't know how many times I've spoken about supply management and stuff, and it's kind of, I feel like I'm repeating myself a bunch. But just removing supply management is not going to ruin farmers' lives and stuff. Like you can not trade with America, or restrict some of their products coming into your country, as well as remove supply management. Oops. All right, well, I think we're done with that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Fred, you're back?
Hey. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So I think what's happening, and we're live, but I'll give this little tech support thing. I think it has the timer because I was the first one back in, and it's making whoever's first the host. So, and my account has the limit, whereas yours doesn't. So you would need to be the first one back in.
Suck my dick, boss
to do
man.
all that. So there you go. All right. So anyways, we're back in the game here. I'm glad you guys seem to be enjoying our little "We'll Be Right Back" compilation. Little comedic interlude, and that's actually good. I mean, that's one thing we want to kind of make the show kind of fun, but certainly there's times when the topic is a little heavy. So I had the even though the breaks weren't exactly planned, at least these little compilations give us a little laugh in between the topics here. So
Yeah,
Fred, sorry. So we kind of got caught off in your China chat. What else do you want to discuss? What other articles?
No, I
do you
want you
bring
to continue playing that because you have elements of different, very, very jingoistic, nationalistic tribes that you will never, ever get consensus, ever, because you do a policy, you're going to upset a certain group. They're going to be very vocal depending on their numbers. Again, they're going to raise hell. This is why, and
Go ahead.
I'm pointing this out because it's really important that we need to stop immigration. It doesn't matter in all its forms, in the student visa.
Hold on though. Like before you caught into the chat, I was addressing this thing with Faye there, and now she's going in the chat. Does anyone farm here on the chat? That means absolutely nothing when it comes to getting rid of supply management. Like, what the fuck? You're like, Jesus Christ.
Sorry, do you want to bring us up what the argument is?
I've just been arguing with her in the chat about supply management. And okay, first of all, there's only a couple products in Canada that are under supply management, which is like eggs, poultry, and like milk or something, right? Just 3. So, Faye, how do all the other industries survive without supply management? What is supply management? Listen to the words. Supply management.
So it's a cartel.
They manage what? What do they manage? The supply. Now, if you have less of something, does that increase the price of that thing? Like I have a story right now, like that we could talk about later. I was talking about Charlottetown in Canada here and how all this immigration is increasing the price of housing in this place, Charlottetown or something, like dramatically in a short 30% in like 2 years or something. And they're attributing it directly to immigration because there's not enough supply for the demand, right? So right now, under supply management, poor Canadians are paying more for milk and eggs, cheese, and dairy or whatever, right? And this is something that a lot of poor Canadians do buy. If you're poor, if you don't have a lot of money, what do you think poor people buy a lot of?
Yep.
Eggs,
The
because
basics.
it's cheap. So now you're gonna make them like, oh, but the farmers are gonna all lose their jobs and all this other shit. And it's like,
Sorry,
no,
can
no,
I
no.
interrupt something
I'm
here?
saying
Like, I
you
need
can
to
just
to-
keep producing more. There's just limiting the supply. They're saying you can only produce X amount of milk and eggs and stuff a year in Canada, and you can't overproduce any more than that. So of course, that's going to affect how come we can't have a regular market with eggs and dairy than we do with all of our other products. It makes no sense. You're just being a fool. Okay,
guys,
go
I
ahead,
can-
Fred.
I can just add to that. I did a paper back when I was at Ryerson, and milk, for example, is some of the most oversupplied and managed industries in the world, especially in Canada. We have so much. This is just to let you guys know that in the farmers of Western Europe, Canada, and America are some of the most wealthiest families in the world. Like you go to any other place, a farmer is a lower middle class individual, and in other places, you're foot to mouth, basically. Now, in terms of dairy, there's so much abundance and supply of dairy that the Canadian Health Council put together that, back in the 80s and 70s, the daily health chart of certain foods. And if you notice, it's cheese, milk, yogurt. About almost a third of the products in there is dairy and poultry. And this is because they were working in tandem with the farmers. There's places where they have so much milk, it just sits there and it rots. And if this was left to the market dynamics, you would see an equilibrium in prices. Right now, milk is some of the most expensive shit you can buy. Even eggs is starting to climb.
Our quality of milk and cream is so poor. Cheese, like some people, like some chefs, have to import it from Europe and stuff, right? Because these quotas and all this stuff too. It's like it doesn't allow for better product and stuff to come into the market as well to compete. And even if you're not allowing these things into the market because all the farmers are all going to lose because of it, then at the very least they could it's not as highly regulated. Like these people, they're making what their argument is a lot of the times too is what they're saying is that they don't want the prices to fluctuate, right? They're like, oh, they want it to be stable, right? Because they want a stable income. They want to know what they're getting paid. But every other industry is not under that. So it's like, why do you get the special treatment? It's like, what are you working for the government or something? Seems like it. But we're the only country in the world that has it. So it's kind of to say, oh, we're all gonna, and they're like, well, what about the rest of the world? How come they can not? How come their industries aren't destroyed or whatnot, right? So it's a stupid thing to fret about or to think that like, oh my god, like I liked what he was proposing because like when I heard about supply management and you're like, wow, like this is clearly communistic, socialistic policy that we should get rid of because it's obviously influencing the price on milk and dairy and all this other shit. But a lot of people are convinced by the conservatives.
Actually, you don't need that much dairy in your diet.
Well, you don't, but I'm just saying, like, it's just like either way, we just don't have to pay that much for it, and it's still in a lot of other foods we do happen to eat. You know what I mean? Like it's in, I don't know, your ice cream, yogurt, whatever, and then eggs and stuff, and milk or whatever. Like it's not a lot of stuff, but it still adds up. Like they calculated it's at least $300 to $400 extra people are paying a year for that type of stuff. So it just makes sense to get.
Yeah, so it's just like our electrical grid. It's just, not properly managed. It's managed for the people earning their money that are engaged in that industry. Reverend Jim Jones says dairy is subsidized so bad producers can dump it down the drain and still profit. Yeah, no, I said that. I said that they have it in bags. It's just sitting there rotting. But anyway. We went off on a topic. I was wondering if you can replay that video, or actually instead of that video,
I can just resume it from where we left off.
Yeah, play this one. I'm going to send it to.
Is it one of the ones you sent me earlier? I have them all loaded up.
Chinese on Chinese hate crime in Vancouver, BC.
I've got it.
Let's play that.
Okay, hang on. One sec. BMW, check. Flag, check.
We're watching Asian on Asian crime.
Yellow on yellow.
Well, if they don't have machetes, I don't really care.
Well, you have a red BMW.
He's got a communist flag or a Chinese flag.
Oh, dude, is he gonna get run over? Oh, and a CIBC in the background. That's an appropriate backdrop.
Portrait.
I mean, the car is kind of on the sidewalk. Like he's not really blocking him.
What is he? Why are they?
I think he's on his cell phone. I think he's on his cell phone. Oh, okay.
Trying to, because one's was yelling at the person for promoting China.
Oh, okay. The guy in the video said she pushed him, I guess, with her car, and now he's talking. He's calling the cops, and he's like kneeling in front of her car, and I guess she's filming him. And yay! Where's the hate crime? Where's that coming?
I'm so confused.
Me too, lady. Really? Dramatic. Is he on like the drama squad or something at his school? Like, this is ridiculous.
This is the broken vase syndrome they do.
I don't know. To show that there's more people.
Is this another like the triad banks have showed up?
What's going on?
Watch him be like, ah, oh, my leg, my hip, my neck, whiplash.
What is this? Why is he doing this?
So
the Muslim folks are like, these guys are crazy.
The Chinese national and women that hit him.
Now he's putting on a show, basically.
No, why is everybody focusing on Hong Kong, like I said, but not France? And like people like beating people over the skulls with batons and shit there and whatnot.
This video is 10 minutes long. When does it get good? What's the point of this?
They're laying on the ground, yelling, blabbering.
But this is happening in Canada. This behavior
No, I know it's Vancouver.
back where they're from.
Well, yeah, I don't know. They're some Hong Kong, right?
Number 3 and the Western Highway Van City.
People just laughing at him like it.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, here I'm
Trying to kill me.
That's what he said.
Sidewalk says this is so awkward. Agreed. LOL at the woman filming. Agreed.
Said about something.
Slavey doesn't want to watch a murder.
So
Fred,
what
is anybody
happened
get
is,
murdered?
what's being promoted is that the protester was for the Chinese government. The woman was really pissed off. She got out and pushed him, right? And then he laid in front of the cops saying that he ran her over. This is the insanity.
He was a bylaw officer. Do you mind if I slide it forward a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What flag is that?
It should be a hate crime.
Right now?
Just gonna slide so cops show up if they ever do.
It's a hate crime from a PRC to a Hong Kong from a female to male.
Somebody should just tase that guy and move him from the street.
He was coming from the council. Okay.
Sam.
I'm going to share my.
Just 8 minutes of him lying on the ground. Oh, he's getting up. Hey, he's fine. It's a miracle. Was Benny Hinn involved? Did somebody touch him and just heal him? Let me touch you and see that you are healed.
Let me know when you guys can see me.
It's a miracle. Oh,
So a guy was laying on the ground and was just talking
They
on
were
the phone.
So they were coming from this protest at City Hall, and it got into a fight with pro PRC and Hong Kong, I guess what you could call them, independence movement now. You guys can see my screen?
yep. It's sharing on YouTube.
Okay. Organizers on the pro-democracy side faced off against those on the side of the Hong Kong police, disagreeing over who was to blame for escalating violence in the semi-autonomous region. Ongoing mass protests in Hong Kong were mirrored in the Vancouver. Well, we all know who primarily is, like, Vancouver is just basically another state of China at this point. We wouldn't even call it Canada anymore. As two opposing camps faced each other outside the Broadway City Hall transit station on Saturday afternoon, the two groups' chants, such as "One China" from the side bearing the Chinese flags, and "Two Systems" from the group rallying in solidarity with the pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. So you can see here, people hold signs and umbrellas during the rally in support in Hong Kong on anti-extradition bill. Organizers on the pro-democracy side faced off against those on the side of the Hong Kong police, disagreeing over who was to blame for the escalating violence in the semi-autonomous region. Hong Kong has been in an uproar since early June. We know all this, blah, 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 but that's pretty much it. So you're gonna probably start to see this in Toronto as well. Because we have a pretty big population of Hong Kong people and now PRC. And again, I'm just alluding to the fact that now you can share your screen again, Chris.
Go ahead.
So I'm just alluding to the fact that multiculturalism doesn't work, right? You have very jingoistic elements. You have the Filipinos, you have the Chinese, you have the Indians. And when shit happens in their home country, we are the ones that are going to be involved. And, you know, this happened in the Second World War with the Chinese, I would call it, badgering the Canadian government to get engaged with the Japanese. And I think to a degree it worked, right? So,
well, and now the Chinese being like butchered by the Japanese. They killed like millions of them, right?
Yes, they were, but the Chinese also
I'd probably
killed.
badger them too. Help me, please.
The Chinese. But hold on. You know, where was Canada? You know, there's Norman Bethune, a drunk, crazy doctor who the Chinese looked up to. You know, we were helping in the communist war, who was helping Mao in his sickness to kill a further 20 million of his own people.
Well, yeah, you
Thanks,
know, I'm
Norman.
saying that was that was after World War II, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still the same time frame.
That somehow that piece somehow gets left out of the Canadian Heritage Minute.
But I just don't give a shit, because where was Canada when the Serbs were raping and pillaging Croatian towns and shit like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they sent the UN where, you know, they were raping and pillaging Croatian towns.
Yeah, there's lots of things I'm told to care about, and other things I'm told not to care about.
That's but what I'm saying is, like, that's their family issue. Do you walk into your neighbor's house and you start, you know, acting like some sort of arbitrator?
I don't care.
Right.
About
like
Hong Kong.
You can have empathy.
Deal with your own shit.
Right.
I don't give a fuck.
Have empathy. Because the minute you start getting involved in this, you've taken a side and you have to stick with that side. It's impossible to mitigate.
Yeah, well, like, I would obviously probably side with Hong Kong or whatever, because whatever, fuck China. But at the same time, yeah, it's like, what about France and what they're doing to the protesters there, and how the media is not covering that, how they're completely ignoring that completely, where, you know, I see videos all the time shared on like Twitter where you see this like protesters getting beaten with batons, like old people getting like just randomly assaulted by like these people with like sticks and shit and SWAT gear, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, he was just walking. So, you know, and then I'm supposed to be, care about these refugees that aren't really refugees, but don't give a fuck about South Africans and the white South. Oh, that's racist. Oh, fuck you. You know, I don't give a shit. You know, people start caring about me, then I'll start caring about them. But
right. And trust me, the Hong Kongese will look down on you as well. You have to understand, because like, I have experience with this. Before this shit started happening between Hong Kong and China, the Chinese looked at themselves as one group and everybody else as secondary. So you get involved there, you're going to be a secondary, even when they want your help. So I support their protests and everything else. You know, I can look at it from both sides, but I'm like, well, sorry, you're on your own. You know, like look, if you heard what some Hong Kongese talk and how they're like, oh, we're going to buy up this property and stuff, they pretty much bought up the country. And if in the position to do so, now that Shenzhen's bigger and other hubs in China, Toisan and other places, they would be doing the same thing.
Chinese, you know.
Sorry?
They're still ethnically Chinese, really, you know.
Right. Exactly. Now we tend to side with democratic nations, but you know, even I don't care if Canadians say, who gives a fuck what happened in former Yugoslavia? I don't gonna get involved. That's your fucking problem. Fuck off. And that's the way it should be. We'd save money, we'd save lives, because a lot of these conflicts would be a lot shorter if we didn't get involved. The whole thing in Syria.
You know, there's a time and a place, right? I think there's a time and a place. You know, there's probably, you know, you don't want to say never, never, you know, but I agree with you. Like, yeah, in most circumstances, like most of the times we get involved, it just prolongs it or makes it worse. And, you know, that maybe the conflict could have been resolved by these two people like having a stalemate, you know what I mean? And now they have to work together. Whereas, you know, you get somebody like America siding with you. Now it's like, okay, well, you're going to lose. Now there's going to be no bargaining power between the two nations, because whoever America sided with is going to, you know, be making the demands essentially, right? Just like, you know, in World War I, essentially, right? Like,
look at Switzerland.
If they didn't get involved, America and other countries didn't really get involved, that could have played out a lot differently, because they wouldn't they maybe would have stalemated more. They wouldn't have imposed such a restrictive treaty of Versailles, that essentially helped lead to the Second World War. So they're people say, well, we intervened and saved you. Well, hindsight is 2020.
Protests? Do you see any white people joining them? Because they group themselves together. Look how many of them.
Well. Also, there's no. Well, other than that white guy in the back, who's a media guy. There's no English signs, really. Yeah.
There's no brown. There's no black. There's no white. Yeah. There's just Chinese.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you want to think about a country that doesn't really get involved in anybody else's shit except for collect their money, Switzerland. And nobody hates Switzerland. They're just like fucking rich people. But they don't get involved in anybody's shit.
This is mass immigration, though. You know what I mean? Because, you speak to every one of those people, probably 10% of them have a Canadian accent. So you're like, oh, okay, you grew up here. And the rest of them are probably like, oh, hello, or whatever. Sorry for being racist, but whatever,
The bananas are still the first generation. When you're out here.
I just want to highlight this guy who's lost, waiting for a bus or looking for a wife. I'm not sure if he knows where he is right now. But anyways, maybe he's waiting for his Uber outside his house.
Oh, yeah. He's probably really likes the Asian culture, and he probably has a Shinto
Asian fascination,
samurai swords in his house and shit.
Samurai sword.
So, again,
I know it's not Chinese, but whatever, close enough.
But anyone's paying attention, don't pay attention to this.
But I'm not against of course these people are going to.
It doesn't mean I'm against it. It just
protest.
Means, look
Black
at
power.
They bought Vancouver. Do you understand? They have purchased. There's so many triads in Hong Kong. They've
probably heard.
They are a nuisance in Malaysia, or the Malaysian king, the premier, whatever you call them, said, "Fuck off." No more. There was a case in Africa where a Chinese opened up a restaurant. I forgot where it was, mid South Africa, and she didn't allow blacks to come into the restaurant. So they would come out. They would be allowed to come in the evenings, but during the day, no black people were allowed in the restaurant. When the black people were so upset about this, and there were black servers and waiters and chefs, they found out that this Chinese person was in the country illegally. So,
we should probably team up with these people, though, against China, though, to be honest. I saw one of them hold up a flag or a sign that showed the two, detained Canadians there. Free them.
Yeah, and they're holding up the British flag. But this is dangerous. You get involved in this, and we're back to square one in other people's family problems. Just say, tap the person on the back gently. Say,
it's not about who cares about their family problems. We're currently dealing with China economically, as a country, and they're doing all this other shit. So if you can get people on your side,
you will stand to lose more by siding with these people who, I tell you.
What do you mean by siding? I'm not saying give them anything.
Well, right now,
saying, hey, I don't like China. You don't like China. Let's work together to get these Chinese out of here, or something like that, or whatever. And then we can figure out.
I dare you to go down here and drive in this heavily PRC area or somewhere in Toronto with a flag, with an American flag and a Hong Kongese flag on your car, with a Chinese flag with a big cross through it. No.
They don't need to like. We don't need to
I'm
like.
not
each
sure why
other.
AJ or I would ever choose to do anything like that.
No, but I'm saying, they would attack you in your own country, and they'd probably get away with it.
Yeah, but I'd
Who?
also be very confused to display
Hong
either
Kong
of those flags
people?
on my car.
What
do you mean?
The
Who's
PRC
gonna
would,
attack
or
me?
if you flip it, the Hong Kong one would get pissed off at you.
Whatever. Like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's not a whatever.
Well, yeah. If you go on an Antifa protest, and they'll probably hit you too, or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, we can ally with people temporarily for short-term goals. You know what I mean?
That's how World War II was won.
Exactly. Russia, Stalin, had to do it.
You're allying yourself with a little mouse.
I'm not saying like you go and you're like, all right, I'm gonna tell you everything, and I'm gonna trust you, this and that. But an enemy of whatever that quote is, where if your
Enemy of my enemy is my friend.
yeah, that's the one. And then that's how we have to kind of look at it, I think, in coming into the future, because there's a lot of people, I think, that want to be like, okay, we got to stay among our own group of people, like, I don't know, like white people or something. And, I understand why you think that, but I think, you need as many people and numbers and stuff as possible against mass immigration or whatever else. So we need to work with other groups of people. We can't think that it's not possible, or that we're only going to be able to do this with, like, I don't know, woke white people or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying these Hong Kong people in this situation are they going to be like for us in mass immigration or something, but I'm saying that, we got to be open and keep our eyes open for potential allies that we can, I'm not saying exploit, but they can help us, we can help them. And and like like I said, doesn't mean you have to have a long partnership. And then, after you figure something, you both achieve your goal, then, and you're like, all right, part ways. Maybe I don't know, but I'm just saying, we got to keep our eyes open for potential allies.
That's okay. I'm going to stay on the sidelines. Let the two sides take care of each other.
Well, yeah, like I'm not saying get involved in their and say, okay, these Hong Kong people deserve rights because blah 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 blah. But within Canada, you can get them potentially on your side for some things. To vote to get Chinese money out of politics or something like that. I don't know.
All right, I have another article. If you guys
Before you do that, we're after 11 o'clock. It's 11:05, and I have to take another break in a few minutes, so we can do another article, or we can wrap things up. I don't know, when do you plan to do that?
Shut up, Faye.
So, how long do you think you need for that next article, Fred?
I think we can cover it. This is where Bernier defends the Saskatoon candidate who urged more hate speech.
Sure.
But I think we can wrap it up.
Okay. We can. Yeah, maybe we can. Actually, maybe it's probably best that we. I have 6 minutes and 59 seconds, so I don't know if there's anything we can cover in that much time, other than this. Just one thing I was thinking about with your conversation there, Fred. I thought back to this video that I'm showing from G20, where Xi and Trudeau were just not talking.
His panda bear.
Yeah, Mr. Winnie the Pooh here. Like, I mean, nobody was talking to Justin. Clearly, he's stuck between Bolsonaro and Xi. I mean, geez, whoever made this seating arrangement doesn't like Trudeau either. but
who's
he's
going to
being
respect Canada? He allows all these laundered money to come into the country, and working with the Chinese to set up.
yeah, but
5G net.
the money probably laundered is probably his. So he should be thanking Trudeau.
No, but
anyways.
why would I respect anyone that does that? I would slap you around.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got thinking about this and thinking about this hysteria about the Huawei CEO and now this China Hong Kong people thing, and it's really showing allegiance. Yeah, Trudeau definitely looks pissed here, but that kind of really shows allegiances. Like that's one of the things that we've always wondered about. When push comes to shove, when that conflict comes, because it will, what will your allegiance be? Who will you back? And I don't know that these people who we saw in those protests and those videos you shared earlier, Fred, with this China, whether it's China, Hong Kong, or Hong Kong and Canada or whatever, I don't know that they'd back Canada. I think that they'd be very much in favor of their homeland, even if they were born here. I think some of them would make that choice. So, anyways, it's kind of got me looking back to that video from a while back. Right. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm done. I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. So we got 4:59 left. AJ, do you have any, closing thoughts or anything in particular you wanted to share?
I don't know. China sucks my balls,
basically.
And I think that right now they're trying to throw around their power, their weight. So they go to Canada and they're like, America extradites that person. They're like, then they do all these tariffs and cut all this trade to try to throw their power, their dick around and shit. And then now they're doing it in Hong Kong, and so it would be good to have kind of a unified front against China, right? Because you should have some people that are faltering and conceding, then it gives them more power, right? And it's that's why it would be beneficial, if a lot of people kind of joined with Trump kind of against China, but then you have people still like Trudeau trying to work with them regardless of them capturing two of our citizens and holding them there for like arbitrary reasons. Mm-hmm. And it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. And we should be teaming up, but Trudeau is behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure Chrystia Freeland, Trudeau haven't really said too much. Maybe they've just recently, but I know for a while they didn't say anything about these Hong Kong protests and shit, right?
Maybe they've smartened up. Jeez.
Oh, well, it's
every time they step outside their lane, they get murdered.
At this point, it's like, okay, can you smarten up? You've already fucked it up with China. You may as well start calling them out and shit. But
yeah,
it's like, okay, why aren't you trying to find new trade partners as opposed to just trying to work with China and they've already shown us how they're gonna treat us when they're in a position of power and we're not. Mm-hmm. And they're just gonna fuck us around. And Trudeau is a retard, and yeah, he doesn't have the backing of America, really, barely, tepid, like just barely Europe. Nobody stands with him. So the rest of the world knows that, so that's why they know they can just dick us around, like Malaysia,
Philippines. Yeah, exactly. And they need to be in an island to really push Canada around, a tiny Asian island, to really show us who's boss. Oh boy, yes, Slavey, Canada needs to start buying gold. Okay, and yes, AJ loves you too. Fred, any closing thoughts?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, we have just enough time for the folks in the chat we want to kind of leave a nice taste in your mouth after that. Maybe not like a Chinese food taste, but like something else here that I'll share. One of my favorite funnies. And thank you very much for joining the show today, everybody. I hope the audio and video where it sounded and looked good to everybody. Please leave your little review in the chat. Definitely like, subscribe, all that other stuff. And we will see you on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Sorry, Wednesday. What time? Night. You want to go back to the regular time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern?
It will be on AJ's channel, right?
Yeah, it
Right.
can be an AJ's channel. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Okay. So AJ's channel on a Wednesday night. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Okay, folks, enjoy the little funnies here, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
G O O O G G L L E E Gulu Gulu N T U R E Nature F U T U R E Future Nature Future DAN GER OUS Dangar E N J I N E R Ingi
Okay, folks, thanks a lot for your time tonight, and be safe, travel safe, and we'll see you all on Wednesday night.